with the panel. So Sammie James is a transgender stand-up comedian from New Jersey. She runs Queerly Comedic and We Are Trans comedy shows and produces and books those. She is darling. I love her so much. I'm so honored that I know her, especially as a trans sister in comedic arts. It's so nice to meet someone who's genuine and really passionate about what she does. So please welcome the moderator for this panel, Sammie James.
Hi everybody. I am busy trying to find the way to sit that gets both my dapper outfit and my entire head into the frame, so just give me a second. Because if I sit too far, it's like I can move back, but then I need to this is fine. Hi everybody. Hi, I am Sammie James, and I am so excited for this panel as well. I love both of these people so much, and I usually have people on panels and podcasts that I host introduce themselves. So what I am going to do is I am going to give it to both of you. I am going to first welcome the wonderful Kelli Dunham to the screen. And you are welcome to introduce yourself however you would like to do that.
All right. Thank you, Sammie. Thank you very much. So should I do like how you do when you do a low budget, for example, Women's Sister Space Women's Festival, where they're like, okay, you have to MC and introduce yourself. So you're like at one mic and you're like, we'd like to bring to the stage Kelli, everyone's favorite ex-non-gender queer comic. Hi, I'm Kelli Dunham. So similarly, I've just introduced myself. Thank you, Sammie.
Yeah, and I love this next comedian also so very much. Please welcome to the screen the wonderful Wanjiko Eke.
Oh, hey, yo, there's a lot going on outside right now. I don't know what y'all are hearing. It's crazy. This is good. Anyways, yeah, hey, I'm Wanjiko. I am a comedian. That's the depths. That's the deepness. That's all I got. That's my current brain stopping.
Yeah, no.
There. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think before we really get into this panel, how are you both doing? I think like that is the first question I really want to get the answer from both of you, because I care. Like, please, how are you?
Yo, fuck Donald Trump, fuck Mike Pence, fuck everybody in that cabinet, fuck all these hating pieces of shit, fuck all of them. That's it. That's it. I'm glad it's done. And this part is done. That's it.
Yeah.
Kelli, is that also how you're doing?
Yes, I'm actually in the backyard of my girlfriend's parents' house, which is kind of a weird place to do a Butch comedians panel, but it's fine, you know. Yeah, I'm relieved, you know. For so many people, this makes a difference. I mean, like my niece who came from Haiti under TPS, you know what I mean? Like she texted me and she's like, okay, so now I, who have given 7 years of my life, like to US in being a nurse, I'm not going to become undocumented in February just because Pence thinks I'm from a shithole country. So, you know, like this is something that impacts us on our daily lives, right? So I just feel like, okay, all right, this isn't who we wanted. This isn't anywhere near who we wanted, but this is not everybody's abusive dad either, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I'll be honest, how I am is I don't know if I am more or less stressed out than I was before. Like, I'll be honest, I'm still wondering. But yeah, so this is the Butch Comedians panel, and first question I have for both of you is, because words are so diverse and like the definitions, while people absolutely, as a, butch trans woman who I don't know, I've been told gives off very feminine energy, people love to tell you what is and is not butch. But, how, like, first, is that a word that either of you identify with or use? And second question, whether or not the answer to that is yes, like what words do you use for yourself, and like terms, what terms feel affirming for you?
I think I use mask, basically more mask, or more butch, or more, like y'all ever see those like super those people in school that you go to school with that are like kind of athletic-y, but like, because like they're super kind of like gay, kind of like whatever, like the range. I think I'm on the spectrum of more mask, but essentially, I don't know about you.
Yeah, so I like the word butch. The butch in some ways has gotten like kind of affiliated with lesbian, and sometimes it can mean transphobic, which that's an unfortunate association. I also like when people are like, well, are you non-binary or are you butch? And I'm like, how are those two different things? They're not two different things to me, so yeah, like this is literally how I've always looked. I just have more wrinkles now than I did when I was 12, but I was wearing this outfit when I was 12 years old. And, I've always kind of been this person. Also, really because of the work of the queer and trans community, I feel like I'm able to be this much more in my full life. Like I can bring this full me to everyone. A lot more than I could like 20 years ago, for sure. I kind of use the term non-binary now, in addition to butch, especially if I'm talking to people under 40. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know for me, I like really like androgynous tomboy, but there's so much like, what do you mean? I'm just like butch. I mean I'm butch. But it's also, I know that for me, it's like, and thank you, Lady Laughs, for having me and for having us. But there's so much like, for me, there are so many times where I'm just like, lady, what? It's like, excuse me, I am a gentleman.
I have that moment too.
So thank you for allowing this space for gentlemen on your fest, your summit. That's the word. I was like, conference. What does she call it? This is a panel for butch comedians, and I mean, like, obvious question for this is if it has your butch identity or mask identity kind of influenced or been a part of your comedy, which I mean, like, it's part of our lives, so it would be, but I really want to know like your experiences kind of straddling those two worlds.
I mean, I would say 25% of my comedy is about the bathroom, It's probably an exaggeration, but I mean, easily 25% of my comedy. I don't know why I'm decided that I need to do it in percentages today, but a lot of my comedy is just me walking around in the world, right? And me walking in the world has a different reaction now than 10 years ago. And then, even previous 10 years to that, although certainly the bathroom has gotten much harder in the last 4 years. But, people just like, if you're just like kind of a masculine female walking around in the straight world, the world kind of writes its comedy for you, Just people around with an index card and say, oh, I'm sorry, could you say that hateful word you just that again one more time? No, that's not how you say faggot, actually. So that, as far as, you know, participating in mainstream comedy, definitely when I started, you know, I feel like the story everyone has heard about somebody chasing, well, I used to start my set with, I need you to ignore all your visual cues and believe that I'm an adult female and not a 12-year-old boy. And the guy in the front row said, oh, you're not a 12-year-old boy, you're just a big fat ugly dyke. And before I could think, I said, oh, you're just sad I'm not a 12-year-old boy. You and the Catholic priest both. And then after that, he chased me with a broken bottle. So during that, I was like, you know what? I should probably I should be pickier about where I perform. And for a long time, I performed almost exclusively in the LGBT community. Like in 2007, I did something like 29 prides in June, you know, before the bottom fell out of the money of the pride market. But now, I mean, I feel like, you know, I got asked to do the Moth main stage with a story about me losing like my mistress, you know, like things are in some ways for some people more open.
Oh, definitely. To, I guess, go off of that, a lot of my comedy is, I think some comedy, even I don't intend on being kind of gay leaning, kind of just always it will just turn gay in a way, just because, kind of like how you were saying, like I try to do comedy that speaks to my experience. Mm-hmm. It's hard too, because we appear obviously more butch or masculine, or on the other side of gender, as far as like the opposite to whatever femininity would appear to an audience. So you almost can't do comedy without addressing it, because you already exist in that mystery world for an audience. Yeah, I've always had. I think also doing some gay material kind of makes you, even though if you don't do it as much over time, I think it's even makes you more secure in yourself. Like I am this thing, and it's also funny, and it's you know, you're just as human as, you know, other people, through whatever assumption they have of you, who doesn't really hang out with certain types of queer folks. I go in between. Sometimes I'll write a set up like, everything is gay here. I need to keep digging. I need a little bit more added story. But I think partially doing gay material, I do think it just in part kind of makes me more secure in self. It's like, yeah, this is the thing, this is how I live, this is funny, and it can be funny to whatever group of people. I think.
Yeah, and you know, going off what you were saying, Wanjiko, I know that like whatever material I plan on doing, when, you know, every show, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna do fun animal jokes. And then I know, like, as soon as I walk on stage after them saying, and here she is, I'm just like, there's the people who are confused that I'm up here. Here I go.
I see that. I feel that.
Yeah.
Or sometimes too, I think there's a thing, like you'll be doing a set with like whatever material, and then like I'll be doing like just okay, and I'll be like, let me throw in one of my little gay jokes that I've done, and then that will go off just okay. I was like, wow, this is pointless. This is like I'll try to like dig into like some sets I'll do with like less gay material than some sets more, you know, depending on how I'm feeling or what I say. And some sets I'll go a whole nother direction, and then I'll be like, okay, this is not going nowhere. Then I'll try like my gay material, I guess, which is not gay material, it's just like life material, but I guess to an audience is gay material. I don't know. But you never know what's gonna happen. I don't know. I'm all over the spectrum of what I talk about, but I do a lot of gay material, of course.
Yeah, and I wonder if both of your kind of experiences of like what material you do, and I mean I already kind of know the answer to this question because I'm essentially asking, do you change your material depending on the environment you're in? Which, like, okay, but I'm wondering about just, do you feel as much pressure to go into this aspect of your identity in front of like an LGBT audience?
Well, for me, I feel like if I don't address it, I remember now why I did this. I performed in a sports club, a sports bar in right next to Stanford. Why I did that, I do not know. Anyway, it was like literally like performing at a frat, not literally, it was quite near performing at a frat party, right? And I walked out and I was like, oh, they don't know that I know that they don't know what gender I am. Like I know what gender I am, you know. But you know, they don't know that I understand that there's some gender confusion going on with them or with me or somebody. So then you kind of have to call the room. I don't know if I've ever had anyone say like, oh, where do I want to do more gay on stage? I know that is something that sometimes queer comics hear when they're performing in a more mainstream, but I don't know. I don't know. I haven't actually felt that. I felt like people are glad for the representation, and also maybe, you know, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I feel like people are like, oh, okay, you're up there. Every joke that a face like this makes is pretty queer, right? So.
Oh. Mm-hmm. I think it depends on the show. I mean, I think it's always good to do for a gay audience, for a queer audience. I mean, I at least want to do one or two queer jokes to be like, you know, I know where I'm at or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it depends. I don't think it. You know, as long as you're funny.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I mean, you can. I mean, you can kind of do whatever, but I still do like one or two at least. I mean, just because it's already my people, why not?
Yeah.
But I also, you know, it depends. It depends on, you know, the show. Like if it's like a queer show that you've heard about for a long time, and you know, is it really popping? Like what kind of stuff? I think based on some of those factors.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that, like, I personally, there are so many, like, if I'm performing for, and it's so weird to, like, still use these words, but if I'm, like, performing for a mainstream audience, like, what does that even mean now? But, like, I'm definitely, like, my butch trans woman joke is being used because it's just, like, I need to have their questions answered. But I've noticed there are many times where, like, depending on like what the audience is for LGBT rooms, I've very often kind of wondered, like, do I want to call myself butch on stage at a space that is all of these butch queer women? It's just like, wait. It's like, because then it's like, explain yourself. How butch are you though? And it's like, yes, but I'm the butchest one.
I think there's also too, I don't know if y'all feel this. There is some moments if you are performing, or maybe I just feel this alone, where if you're performing for an all queer audience, there is kind of like a little bit like more nerves.
Oh yeah.
Kind of. To me, I don't know if y'all feel that.
Yeah. It's like, well, I need to do well for you.
Like, yeah, I don't know, but also it's just like, you know, they're not gonna like give it to you easy. Like you have to, like, you know, there has to be something. I don't know. Yeah, if it's an all queer audience, I do have a little bit more nerves than like a straight audience. I'm like, oh, whatever. I'm just like, oh, okay, I see you around. Yeah, I would be. I think my nerves are heightened. maybe it's also that effect of like you're around people who are from your community, where it's like kind of like high school, where you feel like kind of like a little like, will they like me a little bit more? David, do you feel that?
I was gonna say that like definitely I think about the nuance way more, right? Like I think about the nuance of what hold on, but I'm thinking about I performed for Sage. My girlfriend performed for Sage. Like it seems like, oh, my mom's like, oh, that's gonna be so sweet, like older gay people. And I'm like, you think older gay people are sweet? Do you think that's how that oh my God. Like there was actually through like 1940 being an out gay man, like you are tough as hell. There's actually a point where like somebody was going like this in front of me, like they put their hand, they put their hand in front of it, so sensibly I couldn't see it, but they were like, and then she was like, we need to leave. Right? Like I've never been in a straight audience that did that. I mean, I've had somebody call me a faggot on stage, but I've never been in a straight audience who like was like, let's leave, and this was this year, so it wasn't like when I was first getting good, when I'd just been at it a few years. So and then a person actually came and took a selfie on stage while that like in recent memory, that stage audience was actually the hardest audience I've had, right? And also if you're in like a nice liberal audience, they just like, oh, we like you. I mean, sometimes I have a hard time laughing at like, mistaken identity stuff, because they get like, oh, are we allowed to, we're allowed to, right? We're allowed to, but it can be a little bit more, it's your people. They aren't going to give you a pat. Oh, look at the little funny gay person. Look at the little funny butch person. Do they know their hair is really short?
I'm sorry, I'm like losing my shit right now. It's just that Sage space is the same. It's the same audience I referenced before. I was just like, it's like, I was telling like, I'm a butch trans woman, and some of you are confused. That's part of a joke that I tell. And it was that same space where it's like, yes, we are. Explain. I'm like, oh, okay.
Nobody needs to go on the open mic. Nobody needs to go on the open mic circuit anymore. Just do 5 minutes at Sage on a Saturday afternoon, and you will like develop all the chops you clearly.
Yeah, and then I was followed by this wonderful singer-songwriter who they were like, and afterwards they came up like, we really liked her. I'm like what is this?
That's the worst. I can't even. That's the worst.
I'm like, oh, thanks. It's like, yeah. What if I tell you we're friends? Is that?
It's like they walk around you to compliment her. Like, get right next to her. Okay.
See, you are joking, but that is what happened. But I do think that I wonder if you both relate to this, where in spaces, maybe not Sage, but in other spaces, it's almost like there's more and less pressure, because there's also, I get to unpack so much more of my identity in front of LGBT audiences. It's like, oh, they're getting the 201 comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the show. No, I at least for me, if I'm feeling like, oh wow, I'm really digging deeper on this one bit that they'll only understand. I think it depends on the show and how I'm feeling. But sometimes, definitely some moments.
Yeah, Kelly.
Yeah, I think. I think of like college. When a college student brings you in. Those are folks who maybe haven't been deep into like in a kind of a general LGBT community, right? So like maybe my jokes about like you know, some infighting years or something isn't going to be as funny to them. And that's, kind of, you know what, to be truthful, I've had that experience. Even I performed at like this women's weekend it was like a queer weekend in like upstate Maine in October, and it was freezing. We were camping. It was terrible. But anyway, and folks there, like, I was like, okay, joke, nuanced thing. No. Okay. All right. Just like regular, like, hey, this is what I look like. And here's my girlfriend. And, they didn't want as much a specific kind of like long time community examination. They wanted, something a little bit more, I don't want to say basic, but they wanted, something a little different than that. So, like, and now also the nice thing, after you've been mad at a while, you're like, okay, wait, what's that joke I do about that? Let me think about that for a second.
Yeah. Oh, wait, Kelly, so you were saying they wanted to feel like more personal?
They wanted less kind of community based and more just kind of like, they wanted less of the more like relationship jokes, or more like, like, hey, my girlfriend parent joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, they also did burlesque from the back of a tractor, which was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, with like just lights from the Home Depot. So it's also very hard to compete with that. So did you hear that? That's actually gunshots from like some hunting that's going on across the river from where I am.
Is it like in celebration, or just like they just like to shoot?
No, there's so many Trump flags. My girlfriend lives in Western New York, so I'm actually like, I can see the Erie Canal from where I am. But her parents are actually quite lovely. We're in that stage of our relationship where, our parents feel bad for all the shit they gave us when we first came out. So it's like kind of the guilty, like her, stepmom just came out to ask me if I need a cookie or something, But anyway, so many Trump flags. But.
Yeah. So,
Did we lose him?
what?
I just asked if we lost you.
No, I'm here. No, I was letting the conversation flow, but I think we are getting a little close on our time, and I kind of want to see, like, I like to leave panels that I host with like some sort of positive experience that you've had, and I mean, not that we haven't covered those so far, but like, it could, because listen, comedy can be, grueling. It can be rough. Living the lives with the identities that we have. It can take its toll. I like to kind of just end with, any note of positivity that you'd like to kind of impart. Kind of related to what we've discussed today.
The one good thing about stand-up is kind of like, once you have a little bit more of a voice, you can just talk about anything you want. And if you want to do all gay material, like in an area that's all straight, like, it doesn't really matter, because you're going to be so much more secure in the stuff you do over time. Mm-hmm. Even if it doesn't work out as far as on stage. Just like, well. But also, there's parties outside my house, so that's good.
Yeah. I don't know. I since I have all this death material, I had 2 girlfriends pass away. Obviously not current. I think that's obvious. Okay. And so I have a lot of death comedy, and it's amazing. I'm getting invited to do, like, there's this festival called Imagine a Different End of Life, or Imagine I forget anyway, but it's a death festival, right? It's a festival about a new way of talking about death. And I got invited to like, you know, do the only stand-up comedy at their like opening night, you know? So I feel really good about that, that there's kind of this inclusion in really important parts of our story that get left out all the time or are written badly or like, you know, are written by somebody else and sold back to us. So, I mean, I feel like that and like doing the Moth main stage, you know, being asked to do this story about, you know, my girlfriend's slash mistress's death and the community that surrounded her, which was the really the important part of the story. So like both being able to do that and being able to do a funny story about death, which is, you know, I feel that's me to the core. So I don't know. I feel really grateful for that. I feel grateful for that social room that we have to do.
Well, thank you both for joining me on this panel today. Dina, is there anything else? Any questions anyone has, or how are we on time?
We need to go ahead and move on. But thank you so much. I think it's so important for us to see representation of Butch women, cis or not cis. And I think it was a beautiful expression of who we are as women and performers. And thank you so much, Sammie.